Вставляй, Calmzat.
Уверен, брат.
Конечно.
Я не видел такого.
Да я профессиональный.
I go what I feel, so we will see, man.
You ever notice that Calmzat Chimaev is not the same guy we used to love? Feels like today we're stuck with the Calmzat versus the Calmzat of past. Since around the time of the Robert Whittaker fight, it's clear that there's been a shift of energy with Calmzat Chimaev. I don't think it's that we're seeing a fighter mature. We're seeing a man brought under levels of pressure brought on by powers that be. Calmzat Chimaev is currently caught in a web where walking away is not an option. And the BORZ that we used to love has been replaced by someone who's simply feeling an obligation to the elites who are really pulling the strings. Ramzan Kadyrov. You probably already know who he is, so I'll keep this brief. To say the least, he's a Chechen political figure, and his influence spreads far, including military, political, economical, law, land, much more. When you think of a Russian oligarch, that's basically who Kadyrov is. He has his nose in every part of Chechnya. And like I said, you probably already know, Calmzat Chimaev has a relationship with this guy. And this is not out of the ordinary. We've seen this with Islam, we've seen this with Khabib, and I'm sure there's other Russian fighters that I just can't think of. A Russian athlete becomes a star, and all of a sudden they're meeting with Vladimir Putin, or they're meeting with Kadyrov, or other political figures, and next thing you know, they're getting gifted Mercedes, they're getting gifted Rolls Royce, they're getting gifted hectares of land. This is typical. However, I think there's an ulterior motive here with these gifts. It's a subtle form of extortion, of guilting the fighters, the athletes, the stars. You're basically signing an unspoken agreement that you're gonna pledge your allegiance to not just the country, but the political figures as well. So there's that aspect of these caucus fighters getting close with political figures. But then there's also the part of, if you do something we don't like, or you didn't do something we told you to do, maybe your wife is gonna get into a car crash. Maybe there's gonna be a scandal about you. And I think something like this has happened in the past, specifically with Kadyrov. I forgot to write down his name, but he's on screen right now. This special chosen fighter, right, just like was given the same treatment that Calmzat was. He was in the UFC as well for one fight only. And so after his fighting career, he went into politics alongside with Kadyrov. You know, he slowly faded out of the background of politics, and then eventually, shortly after resigning from politics officially, he was found dead. And I'm not just saying it's Kadyrov exclusively. I think with Calmzat, he's pretty high up there in terms of bumping shoulders with the elites, rubbing shoulders with the elites. That it's more than just Kadyrov. So obviously, yes, with Kadyrov, he can tell Calmzat and other people that he has influence and leverage over and tell them what to do. But the same goes for Freemasons. I feel like I don't need to explain who the Freemasons are or what they do. I also think that they're involved in this as well. Look at this video. Look at the cape Calmzat Chimaev is wearing. Has not only the Freemason colors of blue and gold, but also the symbol right there, right on the cape. This not even subtle. So I think that not only does Calmzat owe duties to Kadyrov and his political agenda, but also to the Freemasons and whatever agenda they have, where they're using Calmzat's clout to push some agenda. If not that, use him as a tool in some way. This transition from crazy guy to guy who's beaten down by his work can be described as the transition from warrior to employee. When we see this Calmzat I spoke about in the intro, it's not an act he's putting on. It's not that he's just matured with age and he's dealt with his demons and he's a calm guy now. I don't think that's what it is. I think that with his duties to the elites, whoever that may be, they beat the spark out of Calmzat. They took what was once a passion, fighting, and turned it into a job for him, as he's now doing it out of obligation opposed to passion. And I know you felt it too. I made the little intro for this video and I sent a clip to my friend. I'm like, yeah, this he's a UFC casual. I sent it to him and I told him the concept of this video and he's like, yeah, bro, Calmzat is different. So it's like, even if like my friend who just casually watches the sport, he can sense this, I know you do too. I think this this change in energy manifests itself when it's like you contrast the Khamzat of old, such as the Khamzat we saw in the Burns fight, where he's so down and ready to scrap that he threw away his best tool, his wrestling, and decided to do almost exclusively stand and bang with Gilbert Burns out of love for the sport, just because he's so horny and wants violence, you know? Right? You contrast that with the DDP fight, where he's simply just in the cage as an end to a means to get the belt and the win, right? Obviously, Khamzat put on a great performance. I think it's overhated. I don't think it's as boring as people say it was. But I think saying ends to a means is a really good way to phrase that. Yeah, he cared how the performance went. He knows the fans are going to be mad at him. But at the end of the day, to fulfill his agenda to the elites, getting the win and the strap is what matters most here. Another example of him like being like this is look at when he actually got that belt after that DDP fight. He didn't even like seem too excited to have the belt. And felt like he was like putting on more of an act than anything when he's celebrating it. Okay. That might be saying a little much, actually. I think he was excited. Maybe it's because seemed like he was already destined to get the belt with his skill, but he certainly wasn't excited as most fighters are. Look at how Merab acted. That guy was like destined to get the belt as well, but when he got the belt, he was freaking out.
The great champion of the world, Merab, the machine, Wallace Willis.
He was freaking out as an understatement. He was so happy. Obviously, they're different people, gonna have different reactions, but still. At the beginning of this section of the video, I used the word employee, and I think that this article from April 7th of this year really reflects his sentiment with that. Oh, I don't have the quote exactly. It says something like, I make more money outside of the cage than I do fighting. I interpret this as the UFC no longer being his main mission. His main mission is now to, like I said, work for the elites and accomplish whatever goals that they tell him to do. When he walks into the cage, he's an employee of these elites. He is essentially not so much a fighter, but more so a walking billboard. He's not going there to fight. He's going there to service a brand that belongs to the elites, you know, whatever that looks like. I feel like I make a decent argument. Obviously, I don't have anything concrete here, but everything I say is making sense. Look at this screenshot. This is from a long time ago. I forget when, fuck. But it says he's money motivated, basically. And then Khamzat himself is saying he's getting money. We know he's getting money. Even if he wasn't getting money outside the cage, we know he's got it. Even if he was just a stick, his only revenue was fighting. He'd still be rich regardless. So maybe he lost his hunger. You know, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here of why we went from this crazy guy to the soulless husk. Okay, soulless husk is a bit of a over exaggeration there. When he first joined the UFC, he had like 4 fights in a year or something like that. That's what made people fall in love with him, because not only was he putting on these emphatic performances, but he's also doing it frequently. And now it's like we don't even have the emphatic performances because it seems like he doesn't care, like I said earlier. Also, now we don't even have the activity. And I think that lack of activity comes from, yes, lack of financial motivation, but also because, yeah, like I said, the elites just beat the spark out of him. He goes, man, you guys have basically perverted this thing that I used to love, fighting, and you turned it into this political, like, agenda thing. This is not what I came here for when I was young and on the come up, which is also coincidentally the name of my mixtape, Young and on the Come Up. And so for that reason, he's just simply less motivated to step in the cage now. And it's like, you know, regardless of this, he's still gonna get out there and he's still gonna maul people and eat them up effortlessly in the cage. But that's only based on the merit of skill only. And he's gonna keep doing what he's gonna keep doing. And I can't wait to see how this fight goes. I'm so excited for this, guys. Anyways, guys, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. My last video about the welterweight belt curse popped off. It's at just under 700 views right now as of recording this on Sunday. 700 views in 2 days. I'm super happy. I got like 10 subscribers in like over like in a week. About to hit 100 subscribers. So please like and subscribe to help support a small channel. Like I said, I'm not even 100 subscribers and I'm making the quality content of people with like thousands of subscribers. So make sure to subscribe so you can get on my channel early, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.